Hey, Chris from Codify Academy here. In this video, I want to look at something that's known as CSS specificity. That means when there's a styling conflict, this thing called specificity is going to determine which value is applied. As of now, we know three selectors pretty well: the ID selector, the class selector, and the type selector for HTML tags. Each of these selectors is given a weight in CSS, and that weight is used to determine which selector will apply the value for a given property on a given element. So let's take a look at an example so we can see how this works. We've created a p tag with an ID and a class in our HTML, and we've selected the ID, the class, and the element all separate in our CSS, and they all have the same property with different values. So which value is going to apply? Should we expect the background color is going to be black because cascading says the last thing found is going to take precedence? So if we load the page, we see that the ID selector wins. It's actually given the most weight. And if we remove the ID and we just have the other two, the class will win because that's given more weight. And finally, the tag selector is left, and that applies. Every selector is awarded specificity points, and these are hyphenated. So a selector using an ID will be awarded a 1 in the first slot. A selector with a class will have a point in the middle added. And if we're using an element, we'll have a point at the end. We're going to learn more about this point system in just a bit. But just know that the ID selector is going to take precedence over a class selector if they share the same property or properties. And the class selector will take precedence over an element selector, again, if they share the same property or properties. I know this is probably confusing right now, but just trust me, once you get over this hurdle of understanding how cascading and specificity work together to add properties to CSS, it's going to make building and manipulating HTML and CSS so much easier. So just hang in there.